You're listening to the Zone Coverage Football Show, where opinions, passion, and pride are always on the line. Live from Tees Towers, here's your host, Mark Tees.
Hello, and welcome along to the good old, I forgot what I'm called, Zone Coverage Football Show. How is everyone doing today? The draft is done and dusted. Plenty to talk about. But before today, I have to read out this announcement. Zone Coverage Football Show is once again presented by the DynastySportsEmpire.com. Dynasty Sports Empire, your place for all your dynasty needs, whether it be hockey, baseball, MMA, and of course, the NFL. So go check them out. That is DynastySportsEmpire.com. Wow, what an absolute crazy weekend. Like I say, the draft is done. Were you happy, not happy with the draft? Hit me up on Twitter at Zone Coverage FS. Coming up on today's show, we're going to have Matt Phillips, who did all our draft stuff all through the past 8 weeks or so now. So Matt's going to be coming on. So if you've got any questions for Matt regarding the draft, hit us up, Zone Coverage FS. Also, what else do we have today? We're going to go through the news as well. I've got a few gripes and stuff. Sky Sports coverage, what was going on there with good old Jim White, who does the transfer deadline day stuff. Also the NFL Europe shop, they were tweeting out that they've got the jerseys for the new draftees in the first round. Turns out they got the Raiders, Redskins, Jags and Titans. That's all that is available. But the good news is you can get a Tim Tebow Eagles jersey. What's going on, NFL Europe shop? Hit me up, Zone Coverage FS. Right then, hopefully you are listening via the TuneIn app. Again, just search Zone Coverage Football Show, give us a follow, TuneIn Live. And again, Spreaker seems to be the place where everyone sort of goes to of late. And with the Spreaker app, you can join our chat room. So again, Spreaker.com, sign up. You've got a Facebook page and all that sort of stuff. Click Zone Coverage Football Show, like us. Join the Spreaker chat room. There's already 2 people in there. It's John Cartwright. Yeah, draft's done and dusted, so hello, John, and welcome aboard. Right, I've got a few bits and bobs to ramble on here. What have we got? Yeah, let's see your live options out of the way. Failing that, we have a few people have been listening back via iTunes. Again, those little gold stars. We had a review. I'm going to say thank you at the end of the show. So we went 5 gold stars, give us 1 gold star, bit of feedback. Same for Stitcher, and you can also find the show now on SoundCloud as well. So we are pretty much like water. We get everywhere. So that is that out of the way. I've got a question. I'm going to set a question top of the show before we jump into the news. This comes from John Cartwright. He says, question for the day. You've won a free NFL jersey, but it's got to be one of this year's rookies. Whose name is going on the back? So we shall see. Phone in there. Phone number. Yeah, hit me up on... Mine's gone blank today. What's it called? Skype. Yeah, Tees Mister. T-E-E Mister. So that's Tees Mister on Skype. The number for Skype is still 0161 818 4593. We are changing that number soon. I'm trying to get a mobile sorted out so we can get text and stuff into the show. So we do have all that going forward. Going to check in on Twitter. Will Davies, always the first person to tweet in, says, afternoon, Mark. Just a quick one to kick things off. Are you pleased about getting some competition for Gino? Again, this is just all media hype. We got another quarterback. Everyone's just going to clam around as another spanner in the works. Sit him on the bench, let him develop, watch Gino and the magical beard Fitzpatrick duel out as the Jets crash to a awesome 7-9 season. So I'm not overly fussed by that. I'm more impressed by the fact that we drafted a certain Mr. Williams. That was fantastic. Fell all the way down to number 6. Took him. Our defence is absolutely phenomenal. Can't pass a ball, but we're going to crush some quarterbacks. Tom Brady's going to be running around like his life depends on it. So that's going to be good fun to watch. The AFC East as a whole is going to be a very good division. But as I've looked through the draft picks, I did a bit of research for jumping on air. I like the draft this year. Teams seem to have addressed the needs well. Some really good talented players coming out. So all in all the draft did just made me hungry for football. So all it did, I just want more football now. I think it's 19 Sundays till the season starts, something ridiculous. It's 19 too many, so less of my ramblings. I'm going to get the news out of the way and then we will get Matt on. So first up, find my news book. NFL News. Right then, the Eagles, they exercise their fifth-year option on defensive lineman Fletcher Cox. The Rams, they will keep tackle Michael Brockers, and St. Louis as well. He addressed his fifth-year option. Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown. You'll remember this last week when the workout started. He had a couple of days off and sort of skipped those. Like, I want a new contract. I think someone's whispered in his ears, Steelers have got no money, you get back to work. So on Monday, Antonio Brown was back. He was there training with the Steelers, so that's good there. The Redskins, they are picking up RG3's fifth-year option. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out with RG3 there. The Jets, my good old Jets, they were fined $100,000 for comments made by team owner Woody Johnson. Revis was still a member of the Patriots when he said, yeah, I'd love re-signing him. Got fined. Robert Kraft did something similar when he re-signed with the Jets. Nothing's happened to the Patriots. It's all just toys out the pram by everyone. It's ridiculous. Move on. Nothing more to see there. Miami Dolphins, bit of bad news here. Former third overall pick in 2013, Deion Jordan, he's now been suspended for the year. And following yet another violation of the league's substance abuse policy. You'll remember that Deion Jordan, he come in, he was quite a high sought after pick. I wouldn't have minded him on the Jets, in all honesty. I come into the league, he struggled a little bit, and then I think it was last year, he turned up, he'd bulked up. And as we tend to do, don't we? We see someone's bulked up, and it's wrong that we do this, but you go, oh, how's he managed that? And lo and behold, he was suspended for PED, so he's now followed that up with another, it's a watered-down sample from what I hear, and so he's now suspended for the year. Kid needs to get his life back on track. It is not good. So, Deion Jordan, sort your crap out, mate. Next up, then, the Bengals announced on Tuesday that they've exercised the fifth-year options on cornerback Dre Kirkpatrick and offensive lineman Kevin Zeitler. Moving on then to the last little bit of news. Well, I'll save that last bit of news because it's part of the draft stuff that we are doing. But yeah, La'el Collins, he didn't get drafted. So we're plenty to talk about in regards to the draft there. The rest of the news is draft worthy. So we shall give Matt a bell and we'll talk draft with Matt. So, Matt, if you are listening, if I can find where Matt is now. Very, very organised or unorganised in here, as always. So here we go. We get Matt on the line, and let's see what our draft expert has to say. What's going on there? Chat room. It's only John Cartwright in the chat room today. He's talking to himself. He's even sent the hashtag tumbleweed. It says Matt Phillips is busy. Oh, no, my God. We are car crashing. It's just me and you today, John. Matt's calling now. Hello, Matt.
Hi, good afternoon, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm very well, sir. How are you?
I'm sorry, I pressed the red button there rather than the green one.
So you cut me off straight away.
I think I'm losing it. I mean, our faithful listener John Cartwright reminded me that I sent an email out, a tweet out asking for an email address addressed to nobody. So I think I'm finally cracking up, eating the furniture and tearing down the wallpaper. I think it's time to get into a dark room and not wake up until September, I think.
I was going to say, now that the draft process is sort of done and dusted and out of the way for you, what are your plans? The darkened room, just no more film, no more notes, just sort of get life back to normal, I would imagine?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird because the last 3 days, just sort of, covering every pick for various outlets, and today numerous articles of different sites and things for undrafted free agency. So it's kind of today's pretty crazy. Tomorrow's a little bit better. Then sort of hopefully by Tuesday wrap things up. But really kind of at the end of this week, I'll be sort of packing up my things and joining the dole queue until August. So, it doesn't really stop. I mean, I tend to give myself kind of a month off just to get a clear, just clear the mind and go again. Then sort of after that, sort of mid-July, start of August, you're looking at the 2016 class, which I've already done some work on already. But
wow.
I mean, you kind of have to have a break, otherwise you're kind of spreading yourself too thin. So
yeah, and you sort of get to that sort of point where, oh God, this is just too much. I need that sort of break, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you can only stop for so long because otherwise you you can't pay the bills. So, I don't get paid during that time for certain things. So you can break for a while, but it's also, I think, as you know, with this great sport of ours, it's you can only leave it for a little while, and then after a few days, suddenly that hunger comes back, and then the idea of actually looking at the 2016 potential prospects is quite exciting. I think everyone likes to have something new to talk about. So it's football's this game's pretty addictive, isn't it? As you know, so you can't leave it for too long.
No, you can't. No. So how was your draft night there, Matt? Did you manage to stay up? And what was the process, or did you hide yourself in a bunker? Like I know you said you that was a possibility for you.
No, I did. I had my own little plan. I actually slept before, set the alarm for 12:30, and did the first round. So,
right.
Yeah. I sort of. It's one of those things that the more and more commitments you have, promising certain people things that you're going to cover the first round. I thought, well, I can't really.
Yeah.
So I decided to go to bed like an old man beforehand, and then
it was I was going to say it was a really good idea in March. Yeah, I'll do you that, and then when it comes to, it's like, oh no, I've got to get up.
Yeah, well, you realise that you actually, this is your bread and butter, and you're covering it, and then you sort of thought all those ideas about, leaving it until the next morning, and I thought, well, it's a bit two-faced to cover something for so long, and then say, oh, you know what, the actual event I'm covering, I'm not going to cover anymore. So
yeah, I know what you mean. I managed to get half a night off work. I've made it home for 10 to 1, watched the first round, sort of tweeted all the picks out, as you probably saw. And then Friday I was back in work, so I missed Friday's draft. Yesterday I managed to catch up with a few of the picks as that was going on. So I managed to watch maybe about 70% of the draft.
Yeah, well, that's very good going. I mean, personally, the first round for me, I mean, it was obviously exciting for everybody, and I really look forward to it. It's kind of like Christmas Day, isn't it?
Yeah.
In some ways, to NFL fans, and but I must admit, I mean, the second and third days are where I enjoy the most, and really, it's the second and if not more so the third day where people like myself are the most busiest, because generally most fans don't know about or even heard of most of the names involved. So kind of in terms of work, that's where our bread is buttered. That's where we earn a living. So it's always more interesting in the second and third days, and it's where we have to do our work really. So I always find it a bit more interesting.
I found actually Twitter was quite entertaining. Like you say, some of the later rounds, I'm seeing some of these names. I'm like, I don't know who you are. And then you can take to Twitter and you can see people say, yeah, he's fantastic. I'm like, surely you don't know who he is.
Well, it's funny. I mean, even like people like myself that cover college football, and we try and scout about 300 players every year, and you still get guys. Even I think it was I can't think of the name, but in the fifth round there was a guy towards the end. I was thinking, I've never heard of you. And you try and leave no stone unturned, and there's always somebody.
There's always one, wasn't
not
there?
The sixth round that starts, but there's normally one or two every year. You think, I don't know who you are. Even NFL.com, people like Daniel Jeremiah don't even know who they are. So. Yeah, that's always quite fun. Yeah,
I think there was a punter and a long snapper taken as well, wasn't there? I would imagine that caught most people off guard.
I wasn't shocked with that. I know Joe Cardona.
Oh, hello. Oh, Matt's vanished. Oh, no. He's just giving us the lowdown on John there. Matt, I'm going to pop the phone down. It says that you're still around somewhere. Hopefully we can get you back on the show soon as... Anyway, so that is Matt Phillips. Get your questions in, guys. Got anything about your draft picks? Are you happy, unhappy? Hit up the show, Zone Coverage FS. As soon as Matt is done and dusted here today, the phone lines are going to be open. So if you want to ring in, 0161 818 4593. And again on Skype at TSmister, TEECE, Mister. And this should be Matt back now. Hello, Matt.
Hi there. Sorry, I'll just put 50p back in the machine. I was
good.
We're good to go.
We're going to say that's it. You've run out of Skype tokens because we've been chatting for that often about these.
We were talking about
the punter.
The punter and the long snapper. I mean, the long snapper I know pretty well. Joe Cardona of Navy. We spoke to him quite a bit during the summer, and he gave us a lot of support with the book over the summer. So he's a fantastic guy, and it's a brilliant story. And I can't say enough about him. I mean, he really is a nice guy, other than just a football player. But I'm not surprised that he was drafted, because he's a really talented player on special teams. So really pleased for him. And we've got an exclusive interview with him in the book as well. So,
all right.
Bradley Pinion of Clemson went as well. A lot of people will say, we could have got him in undrafted free agency. True, but Pinion's the best punter out there. And I think if you're a team that are looking for a low-cost punter in the draft and you want the number one ranked guy, I think towards the end of the draft, you start becoming a bit nervous in the war room that someone else is going to take them. So sometimes you have to secure your priority free agent in the draft if you think there's a chance he could go somewhere else, which I'm pretty sure somebody else would have taken him. So if he's the guy you're set on, then I'm not against using the draft pick.
Yeah,
for him.
why not? As a case, because you get some of the 6th, 7th round picks don't make the team, so why not use a pick that's going to make the team? The long and short of it's going to make sense in the long run, isn't it?
Well, if you believe he's the best punter in the class, which I do as well. It's less of a risk than taking somebody else who's a bit of a project, if you like, and really in the 6th and 7th round, you are taking a bit of a chance. It's a bit of a crapshoot, if you like, an educated crapshoot. But there's no guarantee that person's going to make the roster anyway. So if it's number one punter, your punters may be on a big contract, or you're starting from scratch. This guy is going to touch the ball quite a bit during a game, so it's not really any risk involved.
Brilliant. I'm just going to give a quick shout out to people. Then we need to get you over to the Spreaker app. John Cartwright's in there all alone, and the chat room today is very disappointing. And I did see a phone call just pop up from Ian Sweeney. I'm not ignoring you, Ian. I did see you, but once we finish with Matt, we've got the expert analysis. We'll get you on. So hold fire, and we'll get to you later. Keep the tweets coming in as well. There's still time for questions at Zone Coverage FS on Twitter, and also, if you want to tweet Matt, that is at Matt Phillips 78. So, Matt, I dropped you a message earlier. I've sort of thrown you under the bus, as I tend to do, asking if you could come on the show. You did mention you've got a lot of sort of after-draft stuff in the pipeline, so we're not going to spoil that too much today. Just got a few questions I wanted to ask, just sort of generic questions, really. Hopefully that you could offer a bit more of insight than me. I like I said to you many times before, you offered the draft insight. I just I try to do the hosting sort of stuff. So we'll get to it then. Let's start off with one of the easier questions in regards to the draft. Who do you think then? I know we had a little chatter on Twitter beforehand. Got a couple of steals in the draft. Who fell into people's laps? What's your take there?
There's quite a few that I was really impressed with. That were taken sort of a lot lower than I thought they were worth. I'm just looking down my list now. I mean, there's a few that stick out straight away. I really like the pick of Rashard Green for the Jaguars. He went round 5, number 139. I really like that, because Rashard Green, he doesn't drop many passes. I think he dropped 1 in every 25 targets.
Wow.
For FSU, and he was Jameis Winston's favourite go-to guy, and he's been really underrated in this class in general. And I don't really know why. I mean, he has games where he goes missing a little bit, but he's a great sort of number 2 or number 3 possession type wide receiver. He's not flashy, but he does everything pretty well, runs good routes. So I think Jacksonville got a great. I mean, round 5. That's fantastic value there. Again, I'll have to go back to Jacksonville again. Round 3, they took AJ Cann, who was probably my sort of second favourite pure guard prospect in this draft, behind Laken Tomlinson. They got him in round 3, 67. I mean, that's no cost for a guy you can plug in straight away. He's very tough. He may not be the most mobile guy, but stick him in the phone booth and he's one of the best. I like the value they've got there. Trying to think of other guys. I mean, there's a few guys that dropped down the draft, but due to medical concerns. So I'm not really sure that you can really put that in the sort of steal category. I did like Grady Jarrett fell to the 5th round for Atlanta, pick 137. I actually had him in my first round mock draft. So,
Wow.
Yeah, I really like him. I mean, I think there must be. I've not got any other information that I've managed to find on him, but I think teams have some medical flags that have come up with the information that they've come up with. So I think there's something obviously there that's made him fall, but he's a guy that was very popular in the run-up to the draft, and he's a very sort of physical presence in the middle of a defense. So I like that value. Same as Michael Bennett from Ohio State. Again, that's another Jacksonville steal, round 6, pick 180. He's more of a second or third round guy, but at round 6, I mean, he just kept falling. I mean, he's one of the guys that was at the top of my board for almost a day and a half, just sitting there, and I know he had an injury sort of riddled off season. He couldn't do much at the combine. He couldn't do a lot of this pro day, but this is a guy he's one of the top rated defensive tackles this year. So, Jacksonville done great there in round 6.
I was just going to say, reading between the lines, then, they got a lot of love for the Jags here. Have the Jags stole the show late on, or is it just overall looking at their picks now? They've done a fantastic job, and like you say, they've got Robinson and Allen from last year, a couple of young wideouts as well. Are the Jags now, is Gus Bradley under more pressure? Do you feel the Jags going to be exciting going forwards? Bottom line,
well, I think it's a good pressure to have, isn't it? If you've been picking really well. I mean, I think they've had a really, really good draft. I mean, obviously, I've picked out a few players that they've got some great value with. I mean, I would like them to perhaps done a little bit better in the 7th round than they did. But I mean, looking at their draft. I mean, Dante Fowler. I've always been a huge fan of TJ Yeldon. He's very underrated, actually. He's not had such a good year this year. I mean, if you go back 12 months, he was probably my favourite running back, all told, really. He had a bit more of a quieter season this year, and he's a little bit sort of more hesitant this season than I've seen him in previous years. But I'm a big fan of his. Round 4, you've got one of the best strong safeties in James Sample. So, and managing to come back then in round 5 to grab Rashard Green, round 6 grab Michael Bennett. I mean, these are guys that other than, I'd probably say the top 3, you're looking at guys you're going to start straight away. Which in any draft, if you get 3 starters immediately, that's fantastic. But potentially there, you've got 6 guys who could be starting first team reps in week 1. Injuries notwithstanding, I mean, that's outstanding.
Yeah. Moving on then, I'm going to go for this. The Ducks cornerback, is it Ikpe Alomu?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
Alomu, yeah.
Nailed it. So Matt Phillips, shout out there. He was putting the pressure on me saying I get that name wrong. I've done it once, and I'm now going to refer to him as the Ducks cornerback because I don't want to.
He said Ducks well, so
the Ducks and cornerback. I've perfected that part of it. He fell to the 7th round, and I put him forward as one of the steals of the draft. And you went on to say that you had him as like a first round grade on him. He blew out his knee pretty bad. We've also had a couple of tweets as well saying if he sits for a year, then maybe that is the steal of the draft. What's your sort of take on Alomu?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, 12 months ago, he was my number 1 rated cornerback. He is small. That was the only knock on him. But his ball skills are absolutely fantastic, the best in the class at that time. He started the season very slowly due to injury. So he already had concerns there. But as the season went on, he became the player he was the previous year. But the knee issue... It's a real shame when you hear about anyone who has knee problems like he's had, and also as we've got close to the draft, the medical reports have been leaked, and the news is that his knee is in a lot worse of a mess than it was previously thought about. So
All right.
it's a sad story. I hate to think that about any athlete, but the word is his knees is a mess, and he may not ever get to play in the NFL at this rate.
Yeah.
Which I mean, he's been a great college player, and he'll always have that. Most people who get to play college football, that's the height of their. That's what they're famous for, and he'll be always known as a great cornerback for the Ducks. But it'd be a real shame if he doesn't get to have a crack at the NFL, have a go. But you don't think you're going to see him this season.
No.
If you look back to 12 months ago, obviously it's a massive steal, but with all those concerns, I mean, as not drafted free agent, you're not committing anything anyway. So
just to make that a little sweeter for Alomahuia, he did trigger a $3 million insurance policy that he did take out a few months prior. He was projected to be a 12th overall pick, I've got news of here, according to ESPN. There's an insurance company, International Specialty Insurance, and it cost him $40,000 to take out the policy, which Oregon Ducks paid for, and then he's got a $3 million payout. I know money isn't everything, but it'll hopefully help him secure his future going forward if he can't play football. So fingers crossed he does great.
Sensible guy.
Yeah, very sensible.
But also, it just shows you how good that program is in Oregon to support their athletes like that. I know they do have a really good relationship with their ex-players because, when they have pro days, you have all guys like, DeAnthony Thomas, a lot of the ex-players at Oregon come back for the pro days, and it just shows you what a kind of family that is there.
Yeah.
But also, I think that £3 million, I mean, that will pay for a lot of this sort of. He'd be able to get some really good specialist treatment and rehab training external to the NFL provision as well. So that it would actually cost him a lot of money to get back onto the field as well. So that helps him too.
Yeah. Another little bit of news that La'el Collins didn't get drafted because there's all sorts of sort of madness going on here. He's wanted for questioning. It relates to a pregnant woman that he was sort of in a previous relationship. She's now passed away. There's a sort of an ongoing investigation to that. That he's not going to be taken until that's all cleared, is he? It's a sad story on all counts. I don't know really how to tread around this, really, because it's quite a horrendous story when you've read the full thing.
It's the elephant in the room, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's an awkward one to discuss. But for La'el Collins, sorry to sort of like go football and put everything else to one side. I don't mean to do that. But for the purpose of the show, going forward, what does the future hold for him now?
I don't really think anyone knows. I mean, I know he said that he's due for questioning on Monday.
Yeah.
But not as a suspect at the moment. So I think he wants to clear his name. I know that he said if he wasn't drafted in the first 2 rounds, and he didn't want to be drafted at all. So that's as soon as you had that information, you realise that teams. I mean, I don't think teams were going to draft him anyway as a result of the news. But also, when he said he wasn't going to sign with anyone, then it would be a bit foolish, really, for anyone to try and sign him, because I don't think he would.
No.
Once he was drafted. And even more so as an undrafted free agent, at the moment, until things quieten down, he's not going to be signing anywhere. My understanding is he won't be able to enter the 2016 draft, but I've not had any official confirmation of that, because there's been talk that he can.
Oh, right.
But I don't think the supplemental draft is an option either. So I'm interested to see what happens there. But I mean, obviously, we don't know much about the case itself. But it is very sad, isn't it? I mean, when you've got, La'el Collins is someone that I've really loved during the last couple of seasons. It's a real shame, because you see a guy like that who you see that they're going to have they're promising to have a really good NFL career. I mean, his on-field displays have been something else. He looks like an NFL player in college. And you see that and you start thinking about the NFL. But in the back of your mind, there's always a chance that it's not going to work out for a number of reasons. You can never take anything for granted about these prospects. But when you're scouting him, you think, God, this guy is going to be a really good NFL player. But it just goes to show that just how many hurdles there are to jump over to actually get onto the field in the NFL. And I think most people naturally aren't going to be thinking about that. But I think we all tend to forget just the journey these guys have to go on just to be able to take a snap in the NFL level. And I think that, to me, that gives me even more admiration for the guys that play every week on Sundays.
Yeah, I second that. Let's move on then. We've done like the teams that have had some good steals, good pickups. Flip side of that coin then, Matt, who reached? Did you find any teams reaching for players? Because quite a lot of teams traded up to get a need. I know the Giants did, top of the second round. Was that a bit of a reach or not? Or was there any sort of questionable decisions in your mind?
Well, I think this is I've said quite a few times, I mean, this year's class is unique because once you've got about 15 players, 20 players who were, I'd probably even say 15 players who were really proper round one certified players, prospects in this class. After that, the class is so deep that there's not really much of a drop off from the 15th best player on my board till probably the end of the fourth round. You don't normally say that most years. So you've got sort of 3.5 rounds of players there. And I think there's, one team's number one cornerback is another team's number 5, for argument's sake. So I don't think this year you can really call anyone a reach, but in that sort of top 4 rounds, because, as I say, the drop-off is so small. And really, you're looking at players that then are being drafted for schematic fits. There's going to be some need in there, but I think obviously some of these players fit other teams better, and it's going to, in the eye of the beholder, these prospects are going to be ranked much differently because they're so close together. So, but in answering your question, I mean, there were some picks that I wasn't very keen on. I'm sure every fan has those. I really. There's some I really kind of questioned, really, in the first rounds. I think they're getting a bit of a mulligan here, the Baltimore Ravens, because they've been so good at drafting over the years. But, Breshad Perriman, for me, I've never really been his fan. He's a speed guy. He's got really good size, but his hands are all over the place. And the thing to remember with him is that he was playing for Central Florida, so every game for him the weather was really nice, and it's warm. And now he's going to go up and play in the north, where it's going to be pretty cold most of the time, where the ball is going to be a lot harder to catch. So to me, I think Baltimore are kind of getting away with something and not being criticised for that pick. So I really don't like that one.
Yeah, I say I saw that as well. The Ravens getting quite a lot of high praise there. Anyone else then sort of jump out and that reached? Yeah,
I mean, Cedric Aboye from Texas A&M. He was sort of being ranked as the first overall offensive tackle 12 months ago, and he really looked to be kind of following in the footsteps of Jake Matthews. They've become a school that's been churning out offensive tackles in recent years. But just watching him this season, I mean, he's got all the athletic skills that you want. He's a great mover, and he had a fantastic start to the season. But as the season went on, physically, he didn't bring his A game a lot of the time. I had to question his effort at times and his toughness for the position. He was being pushed around, beaten inside with counter moves. And I think that's the problem you've had with a lot of the offensive tackles who've been taken in the draft in recent years. They're struggling due to strength. I mean, these guys like Eric Fisher, Luke Jokel of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're guys that fantastic athletes at the position, great size, but they've been struggling because of functional strength issues. And I think this is where you're seeing the NFL pulling away from the college level. These guys dominate in the college level due to their athleticism, but when they get to the NFL, their hand placement, their punch, their strength, their base just isn't up to scratch, and they're finding it hard to bridge that gap. And Jake Matthews was exactly the same last year. So obviously Cedric Aboye's had a lot of problems with his knees as well. And, he might well miss the first few weeks of the season. So that was a bit of a head scratcher for me. To take him with the 21st pick is pretty rich for me.
Right then, last question I've got for you, Matt. Undrafted free agents. Is there anyone in there that's still high up on your board that you think, wow, this kid would be perfect for someone somewhere? Are you shocked?
I love undrafted free agency because you always get some of these guys that drop out of the. Some of them for obvious reasons, but some of them for reasons that are unclear, really, to be honest. There's quite a few. I mean, I've been looking at undrafted free agents over the last sort of day. I like what the Jets have done, which is good news for you, Mark.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic with the Jets draft. We actually drafted well, and I had to pinch myself that actually happened.
Yeah, I've been getting quite a few messages, people saying exactly the same thing. They have to sort of pinch themselves. I mean, in undrafted free agency, the pickup of Taiwan Jones from Michigan State. He's a sort of old-fashioned two-down thumper. He would have been fantastic in the 80s. He would have been a high pick at that time. He's a great run stuffer, and I'm surprised he wasn't drafted. Same with Ware Saxton, Jarrell Eskridge. These are guys that I really expect. They're quite high on my board, and I expected them to go in the draft. Just looking down my list here, there's quite a few. Zach Vigil of Utah State went to Miami. I really like that guy. The fact he wasn't drafted to me was a big shock. I think if you look through, there's so many guys that I assumed would be drafted in sort of fourth round and lower, and they've ended up in undrafted free agency. I think some teams are better than others. I love what Tennessee have done in undrafted free agency. They've got guys such as Derek Lott from Tennessee Chattanooga, Jose Matias from Florida State, the guard, Cody Pruitt. At one time, I thought he was going to be a second-round pick.
Wow.
The free safety. J.R. Tavai from USC, Quinton Spain from West Virginia. I think Tennessee have killed this undrafted free agency period. So, I think there's going to be some more signings over the next few days, but I like what teams are doing, getting quite a lot of value in the what used to be called the 8th round.
Yeah. It's good news. So basically, the teams that you mentioned, the Jags and the Titans. Now, sorry to be a bit disparaging towards those franchises, but the bottom feeders last year, they're going to make it. For me, it's going to be more compelling, more exciting, more competitive, and there's a lot of great players in this year's draft that I'm looking forward to seeing. And like you say, you've got the down low on these undrafted free agents. It's people like me who'll be like, wow, where did he come from? And I know you'll be there banging the drum saying, I told you about him ages ago. So plenty to look forward to. Just one last little thing then before you go, Matt. Are you overall happy with what your team did this time round?
The Chiefs, I'm very happy. I thought they would do well this year, just because of the volume of picks. John Dorsey comes from that Lon Wolf system in Green Bay, and my philosophy has always been sort of the Lon Wolf type approach to the draft, and taking, just collecting the best players in the draft when you're picking, and then let your coaching staff worry about where you're going to play them.
Yeah.
John Dorsey's a very good guy, and he's not reaching for need, which, if you're picking primarily for need, which most fans of NFL teams want their teams to do, you're just setting yourself up for failure in the long term. And I love what he did at Green Bay, and I like what he's doing now. Very happy. It's a very solid draft, and I kind of foresaw that for the Chiefs. When in recent years, since him and Andy Reid have joined the organisation, have not had many picks to choose from. They've done well with what they have, and they're very good at undrafted free agency and waiver wire picks. Their success in in the last 2 years, a lot of it's been down to what they've done at the sort of fringes of building a squad, as I say, in a waiver wire, or they got 3 undrafted free agents who became key contributors last season. I have to love Marcus Peters. I absolutely love that pick. He's the best corner in the draft, in my view. watching tape of him, and he's a guy that you can leave on an island. 50% of the time. Once the ball was thrown up in the air, he came down with the interception or the defended the pass. So, yeah, really, really happy there. But I think this is a draft anyway this year that's so deep. I think you'd really have to work hard to go wrong. I think it's a draft for the GMs this year, and to be able to sort of get a lot of value later on in the draft. There wasn't really the star power at the top, but the talent really sort of ran the whole way through, which made it not easier, but I think it made it a lot more interesting for fans as well, because I think every team can stand to get a lot better.
Yeah. One last one then. I've said one last question about 3 times now, but with the draft and the free agency, Chiefs to win the West. I know it's early. You know me, I like to throw you under the bus.
I mean,
yeah, it is very
when we're
early.
at this stage, we like to sort of project how these guys are going to do.
Every fan is winning their division. If I asked everyone now, they'd all say
they
yeah.
I mean, that's the great thing about this sport, isn't it? Like you were saying, the teams who had the worst records last year, they've picked up players. You think, wow, that's really improved them, and that happens. It's a great sport in the fact that the worst teams get the best players, and the equality through the league is fantastic. And every team, all 32 teams, and every fan in the NFL has a chance of winning the Super Bowl before the season starts. And I think that's why it's so much better than so many other sports. Everyone has a chance.
Yeah, that's it.
The worst team can become the best team in no time at all. So, as in terms of the AFC West, I think it's a very competitive league, and I've said for a long time that Denver have been in win now mode. I mean, that's been pretty obvious. They've decided to go down the route of taking Manning and having a slightly older roster, but I think everyone can see that. Once that ship sailed, then they'll be in rebuilding mode. I like what the Raiders have done a lot as well. I like what the Chargers are doing. I like what the Chiefs are doing. I think the Broncos' time is passing. They've got one more shot now with Manning at the helm. But after that, once he's gone, then they're going to have to rebuild. But that happens to every would-be dynasty in the NFL. They have their window, and then they have to sort of kind of go back to square one again, which I guess is the beauty of the game.
Yeah, now maybe on that. I thought I didn't think I wasn't sure how you'd answer that question there, with it being like May and just throwing you under the bus. Matt, that's all.
Well, everyone's a homer, aren't they?
Yes.
I mean, who isn't a homer of their own team? And I mean, I throw that question back at you, Mark. I mean, NFC East this season. What do you think?
My instant response, it's built in after 10 years of the Patriots winning the division 12-4, so I honestly don't know. It's too hard to call now, which is good, because I like what the Dolphins have done.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Tannehill's coming on. I thought he surpassed expectations last year. Thought he'd take a step back. The Bills have weapons and Rex Ryan, and he's going to run the rock, so they're going to be a threat. The Patriots never seem to be over glamorous with their additions and subtractions, but Belichick has a way of moulding a group of players together and getting the best out of them. The Jets have made some really nice additions. It's a coin toss. It wouldn't surprise me whoever won that division, or if 3 teams hit the playoffs out of it. It's got all sort of connotations going on there. I just couldn't put a finger on it at all. It's too hard to call. Yeah,
I think all the time you've got a superstar, which Tom Brady is, whether you like him or not.
Yeah.
If you've got one player in a sport which is the consummate team sport, you can actually ensure that your franchise dominates. I mean, that's something. And as I say, every player has to do their part to be a success. But with Tom Brady at the helm, you can achieve anything. And I think that Bill Belichick gets a bit of a bye for his drafting. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of him as a drafter, or as someone who can spot talent in the draft. I think his record is pretty patchy. I don't really like his draft class this year very much at all. I mean, Jordan Richards in round 2. I mean, that's probably the richest pick I've seen this year. That was a real shock to me. and he's got a really bad record with defensive backs in the draft.
Yeah.
I think he's got Tom Brady. He's got to thank Tom Brady a lot for helping him through. But until Tom Brady retires, they're always going to be the favourites, aren't they? And
yeah, unfortunately.
I think, sometimes we don't like that. It's the same with Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get fed up with that, but you've got to take your hats off to these guys. One guy can influence a whole franchise in the sport that's designed for that not to happen is fantastic.
Yeah, very true, especially when you say the worst teams get the best players. It's quite a lot of parity going on and stuff. And to keep doing that year after year after year, you sort of have to tip your hat to, don't you?
I think with Bill Belichick, people say what amazing job he does in the draft. But I think, I'd like him to kind of concentrate on coaching more, which obviously he's fantastic at. But I don't think he should be. I think New England need to get a GM in.
Yeah.
I don't like his drafts particularly. I hope I'm proved wrong, but he's not. It's just, especially when it comes to defensive backs. I really don't have much confidence in him.
Brilliant. A little bit of Patriots bashing. So always that floats my vote.
I like what the Patriots do, especially on the offensive line. They've done really well in this draft, actually, on the offensive line. Trey Jackson, Shaq Mason. I love the value they got with those two. But yeah, I wish he'd stay away from drafting defensive backs and players some ruckers.
Brilliant, excellent stuff, Matt. That's all I have. I think we covered all the questions. There wasn't many questions today. I'm sure everyone sort of sneaked off and watched football or soccer, whatever you want to call it. We sort of answered the ones that did come in. So, Matt, again, thanks for jumping on the show, mate. I really appreciate your time. And I know you've got a lot of projects you're working on. So, guys, get over it. Matt's on Twitter, Matt Phillips 78. Any questions on that? Welcome, as always, Matt.
Of course, yeah. Any draft questions, any guys that your team's drafted or undrafted free agents that you've not heard of, you'd like some more information, then just contact me anytime, Matt Phillips 78, and I'll be, myself and my team are going to be too happy to get back to you.
Excellent. And your book's still available at ukdraftguide.com?
Yeah, ukdraftguide.com. If you're anything like me, I sort of like draft guides more after the event than before. So most of the undrafted free agents are in there as well. So if you want more information, scouting information on your picks, then head over. It's still £5 and every penny goes to charity. So we're still selling that.
Excellent stuff. Matt, again, as always, mate, appreciate the time and I'll speak to you in due course. Enjoy the rest of your day, mate.
Yes, thanks, Mark. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye. Excellent stuff there for Matt, as always, making the Zone coverage show what it has been over the course of the past few weeks. Right, got some good news. Quite a few people joined it in the chat room, so shout out to Robert, and the Big Legowski also joined in. A lot of people relatively happy with what went on in their draft class. Who else jumped in? I'm sure I saw someone else. It won't let me scroll up, but latecomers today to the draft. To the chat room, I should say. Twitter's been relatively quiet as well, so at Zone Coverage FS, any tweets you want to get in, do feel free to do so. A few minutes left. I know Biff Sweeney did try to call the show earlier. Biff, the lines are clear now, and that's for everyone, really. If you want to call in via Skype, Teece missed it, T-E-E-C-E missed it, and come and have your say, really. Have a rant, whatever you want, if you're happy, not happy. The lines are still open for the next round about 10-15 minutes. We shall see how this goes going forward. I'm just going to go through now, sort of recap the course of what went on in day one. I know it seems like forever ago since Thursday night, but just a little rundown in case you missed out what was going on. So the first round sort of highlights, basically. And we'll start off with the number one pick, which was sort of the general consensus one. No real shock that Jameis Winston did in fact go to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Much needed. Their offense was ranked 30th overall. Obviously Winston now, Austin Severian Jenkins, Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans as well. It should be an exciting offense going forward there. The Titans took, with the second pick then, Marcus Mariota. There was rumours here that Chip Kelly pretty much offered everything for his former college quarterback. I would imagine back at Eagles facility there's going to be a few awkward moments with those players that he was rumoured to be shopping. I think there's been an article come out since where Chip's sort of denying this now, that he didn't offer basically a bounty for Mariota. I like that the Titans have gone, well, we need a quarterback. Let's roll with Mariota, see what we got. Also, added Darrell Green Beckham as well. A lot of speculation about his sort of off-the-field concerns and stuff. The Titans have gone for it. Mariota and Green Beckham there. It'd be interesting to see how they pan out for me. I'm looking forward to watching the Titans and that, so should be good fun. And then the Jags, they selected Dante Fowler Jr. Again, Jags addressing a need. They were awful going after the quarterback last year. I've been pinching some notes on Matt Spooky here. Very physical, great motor, and a good pick. Again, another pick that we saw coming, was much rumoured about, was the Raiders picking up wide receiver Amari Cooper. Again, it's been since, when was the last time the Raiders had a receiver go over 1,000 yards? Does anyone know that? Anyone? It was 2005, and that particular player was Randy Moss. That was the last time a Raiders receiver went over 1,000 yards. So should be very interesting there to see what happens. Redskins were up next then at 5. They took Brandon Scherf, again addressing a need there, and Leonard Williams kept on falling. I was convinced the Redskins were going to take him. He fell to my Jets. We are now strength on strength on strength on that D-line. Rumours that Wilkinson was sort of trade bait. Nothing happened there. Not sure if anything will going forward. I would take Wilkinson for Adrian Peterson as a straight swap. That's probably too rich for us, but nah, I don't know. That would be nice. So it's going to be interesting to watch Tom Brady run for his life. The Bears, nice move by the Bears. Got wide receiver Kevin White. Brandon Marshall's out. A few injuries. Older, a younger wide receiver there. Again, the Bears going forward is going to be interesting. Falcons picked up Vic Beasley, linebacker. Another need that they addressed there. They struggled for the past 2 years and getting to the quarterback. They've averaged just 27 sacks per season. And at Beasley, he had 33 sacks and 52.5 tackles for a loss during his time at Clemson. So that is the Falcons up to the 8th pick and the first round there. A lot of people congratulating Matt on his excellent work, so it's nice to see Matt getting the praise and adulation that he deserves for his excellent work. And again, his book is at ukdraftguide.com. A lot of people in the chat room actually have that book, myself included. Excellent read. Can't recommend it enough. And as Matt says, all the money does go to charity. So tip of the hat to Matt there. Jumping in on Twitter then. Where are we? Yeah, Will Davis, you must remember early in the process I was against Chargers drafting a first round running back. But after all the Rivers BS, is happy to give him a top quality running game, and hopefully that commitment cheers him up. Yeah, love what the Chargers did as well to get their guy. We'll get to that in a minute. So appreciate the tweets, Matt. Will there at Not Only a Hat Rack. Again, keep the tweets coming in, guys. What's my Twitter handle? Zone Coverage FS. We'll go then to the Giants at number 9. First round again. Still just a quick, brief summary of what happened in case somehow you missed it. I don't know how you would have missed it. Anyway, Eric Flowers. He's going to be a starter day one for the Giants, right tackle, 6'6", very good on run blocking from what I've read. Again, I'm no expert. You see Matt for all the draft insights. The Rams took Todd Gurley, possibly the best backfield duo now. Trey Mason, NFC West, brutal division, tough physical, so it's going to suit Gurley's style of play. Also means that maybe they haven't got to go so gun-ho with Nick Foles, who I feel took a step back last year. So the Rams are going to be interesting. Will it be another 8-8 season? They need to get over that threshold there. Fisher is under pressure. The Vikings took the first corner off the board in the form of Trey Waynes. Again, in a division that contains Jordy Nelson, Cobb, Jeffrey, now White, Calvin Johnson. You need a decent cornerback. So the addition of Trey Waynes for the Vikings there as a good one. Another good one, the Browns absolutely woeful against the run. Took Danny Shelton. And what happened with Danny Shelton picked up the commissioner, and they must have shown that replay, for like 1,000 times. At the NFL, I've never seen one human pick another up before. Enough with the replay of Danny Shelton bear hugging the commissioner. But I did put out a tweet. It would have been so much more funny if he just body slammed him, wrestling style. Anyway, Danny Shelton fits perfectly in Mike Pettine's 3-4 system. They should definitely improve their running woes last year. The Saints, they picked up offensive tackle Andreas Peet. Got Max Unger come over from the Seahawks. That O-line now much upgraded. It's pretty clear that they're going to be running the ball a lot more going forward, and also a lot more much-needed protection for Drew Brees, who's been sacked a staggering 66 times over the course of the last 2 seasons, and that's not good for someone that's getting up there in years. Your body's becoming that much fragile, so they need to protect Brees going forward. Dolphins picked up wide receiver Devontae Parker, and the Finns now have an intriguing group of young wideouts. The Dolphins going forward with the talent that they've got at wideouts, young talents, it's going to be interesting to see how they develop. So Dolphins are going to be a force down the line. And then 15th overall pick, we had our first trade as the Chargers moved up to take the 49ers pick. It cost them a 4th rounder in this year's draft and a 5th round in next year's draft, and as Will was alluding to earlier, they took running back Melvin Gordon. Ryan Matthews has obviously moved on. They needed to give Philip Rivers some more weapons, and like Will says, hopefully that will cheer up a certain Mr. Rivers there. And then with the 16th pick, what did we have here? Yeah, the Texans took Kevin Johnson, another corner. He'll go opposite now, Kareem Jackson. So, again, secondary, both some decent cornerbacks there. I was uninspired by the Texans pick. Any Texans fans out there? Just give us a bell. What are your thoughts on that? Cameron's joined the chat room as well. So, hello, Cameron. He said he was going to be missing the show today. So, late starters in the chat room this week. What did we go on then? Where did we go? 17th pick, 49ers took Eric Armstead. And then the Chiefs, as Matt was on about earlier on, took Marcus Peters. The Browns picked up Cameron Irvine, the centre there. He will eventually replace Alex Mack, who's going to be gone next summer. He had some versatility to the line. He can play all 5 positions. So the Browns did all right in the draft. I didn't take a receiver early doors, so that did shock me in fairness. Eagles then took Nelson Aguilar. I would have thought the Eagles might have addressed secondary here, but it's another tool for Chip's crazy offense. He can return punts, they can line him up in the slot, outside the numbers. Basically, it's just another toy for Chip and his crazy offense, isn't it? So we'll see how that sort of pans out. 21st pick, the Bengals. Not the best thing to do if you're Andrew Whitworth is to dare your franchise to draft your replacement. Well, the Bengals did that, and they drafted Cedric Abui. He is coming off a torn ACL, so we might get some room, some time there. Let's jump to the phones. We do have Ian Sweeney calling. So, hello, Ian.
Well, Mark, how's things?
I am very well, sir. How are you?
Fine. In good form.
Good man, good man. What can I do for you today, sir?
I'm just giving you a quick ring. I haven't heard her chat to you in ages.
Oh, no, my other Twitter account's dormant at the moment. I've not been on that forever. My personal one. I don't think I've tweeted on that for about a month.
Maybe, yeah. No, I just wanted to chat about the Jets draft yesterday evening.
All right, cool.
Evening before that and the evening before that.
What was your take on the draft then, Biff? Did you like what we done, or...?
Yeah, very, very, very happy.
Oh, what was that? Sounded like someone fell over.
No, that's the child acting maggot. trying to break into the kitchen where I'm trying to chat to you.
Oh, trying to break into the kitchen. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited now, and to be honest, I wasn't expecting much because as of our last GMs really weren't that great at the draft. I wasn't just going to build myself up to let myself down, but I give 2 thumbs up to McCagnum for a great draft.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Biff. Again, Williams fell in our lap. A previous regime might have passed and drafted a need. We've going strength on strength there. Many regard him as the best player that was in the draft, so why wouldn't you? I know there's a lot of rumours about Wilkinson. Will he stay, move on? Is that a contract next year? So we'll see what happens in that. I suggested earlier we trade Wilkinson for Peterson. That'd be good.
Yeah.
I can't see it ever happening.
I
think it's wishful thinking my end. It cost us a lot more to get Peterson, in fairness.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
No, wishful thinking.
Anyway, yeah, no. With the second round pick now, Devin Smith, wide receiver of Ohio State, I love the pick. It's something the Jets have been lacking for years, and that's a speedster wide receiver. This guy's got serious hands.
Yeah, that's what as it Mike Mayock said. He tracks the deep ball as well as anyone he's seen in this year's draft. My only concern, the last time we had a speedster was Hill, Stephen Hill, Hands of Stone Hill. Let's just hope we don't have a repeat of that, hey. But it does sound like, say, promising. He can blow the top off the defense. That's something we need. We'll clear out underneath for the likes of Decker and Marshall.
Yeah.
Be interesting though. What happens to Jeremy Curley now in this situation?
With the spread offense they're going to be using, he'll be still the slot receiver, because I think they're going to place him in as number 4. Let the rest of the receiver depth fight for the next 2 spots.
Yeah.
With the number 3 pick was Lorenzo Molden from Louisville, outside linebacker. I was banging on the table for him now for months. He's a monster of a outside linebacker, but he's not a speedster.
All right. What's it like in coverage? Because I know we've lacked.
I wouldn't really say he's that great.
No,
he's your typical outside linebacker without the coverage.
Right, so going to be strong against the run, coverage going to struggle. I don't know a great deal about him, to be honest, if I'm honest, Biff.
Yeah, and there's a story of himself on YouTube you should look at.
All right, cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah, look into it, because he's had a serious hard life. His mother and father were up for years, and they're big into the drugs, and he lived in 16 foster homes.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's great to have him.
Yeah, it's nice to see, like you say, some of these young prospects, they have a real hard time, and it's nice to see them catching a break, isn't it? Let's move on then. You're going through the rounds here. Bryce Petty at quarterback. You sort of take on that, Biff?
I'm not going to really spend long on it. I'm happy to just stop in 4th round, because he can come in and he can be redshirt, as Mike Mayock said last night. And there's no pressure on the kid, because they got him in round 4.
Yeah.
So he's going to sit there and get redshirted, and maybe the year after he'll probably be the backup, and maybe round year 3 he might become the starter. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Give him, like say, redshirt him the year, move him up a slot maybe next year, 3rd year. Well, by then you've had a 2-year look at him, and we can see what we can do. And like I say, that there's no pressure there. So I'd be interested to see how that pans out.
Yeah, I'm not going to really go on about the others, because I really don't know much about the others.
No, I'll be honest with you. Should have asked Matt, really. Jarvis Harrison, a guard we picked up in the 5th round. Then in the 7th round, we had Dion Simon, a nose tackle from Northwestern. So we also picked up running back in a trade. What's his name? Zach Stacy, was it?
Yeah.
Well,
so that was a head-scratcher to me, because he's very similar to Ridley and Bill Powell, and he's kind of similar to Ivory as well, but Ivory's bigger and Ivory can't catch the ball that much.
Yeah, I think it's insurance for Ridley, isn't it? Because Ridley's coming off, is it the ACL? So
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, like you say, it's a late round pick. We'll see how it sort of goes. It's depth as well, so.
Yeah, plus they're all on 1-year deals. Apart from him, he's still on his rookie deal.
Oh, right, I didn't realise he was still on his rookie deal.
Yeah. And they have got Richardson as well, so he could end up getting a chop in summer.
Ah, cool. I know you've started up a pod as well, Biff. I've yet to have a chance to listen to it, mate. So tell us a little bit about your pod that you've got going.
Yeah, it's called No Fly Zone Radio. It's a New York Jets fans podcast between myself and Rich Tinley, a good friend from yeah, we just chat basically Jets football, and I've been on to do it maybe a year ago.
Yeah,
but we said on the eve of the JJP finishing up, we'll just start it up.
Yeah. Well, how are you finding that? Nerve-wracking at first couple?
Oh yeah, first one. You could swear I had the stutters.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was even trying to read stuff, and I was just making an idiot of myself.
It'll come to you. It'll come. I still make an idiot of myself now, and I must have put about 100 of these podcasts.
It's a bit of crack.
Yeah, it's good fun.
And we're getting back a nice bit of feed off the usual suspects, Marty and Ron, and they seem to enjoy it. So we must be doing something right.
That's the main thing, and the main thing is that you enjoy it, Biff. That's it. As long as you enjoy doing it, having the crack and that when you're doing it, that's all that matters.
It's on Stitcher and iTunes now.
iTunes and Stitcher. Cool. We'll get everyone over to that. Anything else? Anything else?
Head off.
Okay, then, Biff. I'll catch you later, mate. Appreciate the call. Take care, buddy.
Good show.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.
And that is Biff. You can catch him on Twitter at Biff Sweeney and check out his new Jets-based pod, which was No Fly Zone Radio. So right then, where were we? I was running through these picks in the first round. There's a lot of chat still going on in the chat room, and Scott Larkins joined in there. So plenty of good talk going on. So appreciate everyone jumping in the chat room there. Where was I with these picks now? Where did I get to? I think, that was it. We did. Andrew Whitworth was there in the Bengals to draft his replacement with the 21st pick, which the in due course did. Moving on then to the Steelers, 22nd pick, they took outside linebacker Bud Dupree. Jason Wills retiring. James Harrison, he's got to be 87 years old now. Fits in perfectly to what the Steelers are. Number 23rd pick. This one for me. What's the best thing that can happen to you if you get cited for having pot on you? Get drafted by the Broncos up in Denver. It is legal, so it's win-win. In the case of that, the Broncos moved up with the Lions. It cost them 2 fifth-round picks. So, that's great news there for the... Broncos. Cards took... who did the Cards take now? Yeah, defensive tackle DJ Humphries. Panthers, they added outside linebacker Shaq Thompson, who will be viewed eventually as Thomas Davis's long-term replacement. Moving on, the Ravens, they got bigger, faster version of Torrey Smith, who's now gone, and Brashard Berryman. Who else? What went next? Yeah, the Cowboys, their defence was a big concern last year, but somehow they managed to cope with a mash of players. They selected Byron Jones, cornerback. Can also play free safety, so it's going to be interesting going forward to see how the Cowboys use him. 28th pick then, we're on then to the Lions. They took Laken Tomlinson. Guard, gives them a nice talented prospect there. I like what they're doing there. They also got a guard, Manny Ramirez, so the Lions have shored up their lines there. Matthew Stafford should be a happy man going forward. The Colts offense... The Colts, this was a weird one. They took another wide receiver here in the form of Philip Dorsett. The Colts have got some serious weapons. They're going to win every game from like 70-67. It's going to be crazy. The Colts are going to be entertaining to watch this season. So more weapons for Andrew Luck and the Colts. 30th pick, this one was a head scratcher for me. The Packers took safety for the second year running, Demarius Randall from Arizona State. Could play inside. Again, head scratch for me. Packers fans, what were your thoughts on your first round pick? And with the Saints' second pick in the first round, they took linebacker Stephen Anthony. And the Pats, they filled the void of Vince Wilfork with the 32nd pick with the addition of Malcolm Brown. Right then, that's pretty much it for this week's show. What do we have? I'm sure I've got something else right down at the very, very bottom of my list. Oh no, it's not at the bottom of my list. Scroll all the way back up. Well, again, we'll get there eventually. We will. Eventually. I did have some shout-outs this week. But I can't find them. I cannot find where I put the shout-outs. I've got them. Yes. Brilliant. Found them. Here we go. Brian Flanagan at NFLBTC. He listened to the pod last week. He said he really enjoyed it. Well done, mate, especially as it's a solo thing. He subscribed and gave me a rating on iTunes. Brian Flanagan, much, much appreciated. Thank you for doing that. Also had a brief conversation with Tommy Farr at Ginger Zola. We were talking about... I give the top 20 rundown of the jerseys, and I questioned Jason Witten's appearance within that top 20, and he said it's a former Hall of Fame. It's going to be a Hall of Famer going forward, so that's why the Witten jersey was popular. So we had an interesting conversation there with Tommy, so that was nice to see. Right then, guys, this is it. I'm done and dusted. We've gone for 70 minutes. I'm not overly sure what's happening next week. I've got irons in the fire and getting a couple of guests on going forward. So there's going to be maybe 1 or 2 shows before May is done with, and then I'm off on holiday at the end of the month. So I'm going to take maybe about 3 or 4 weeks off. But I'm looking to do 1, 2 more shows. I've got to make a couple of phone calls this week. Hopefully I have a show next Sunday. If not, definitely the Sunday after. So, again, going forward, just keep retweeting this, Zone Coverage FS. If you got any questions and stuff, I'm trying to be a little bit more active on Twitter as we go forward. Again, iTunes, get some ratings, some reviews on there. That would be much appreciated. Stitcher, where else did I say? Where else are we now? I did say SoundCloud. Yeah, if you got one of them accounts, you can find us on there. If you want to email the show, you can do. That is Zone Coverage. Footballshow@mail.com. Again, massive shout out to Matt for coming on the show today. Matt Phillips 78 on Twitter. UKDraftGuide.com. Still order his book, £5. All the money goes to charity. Shout out to Biff at BiffarooJet on Twitter for ringing in today. Everyone that's in the chat room, we got Cameron, Robert, John. Who else was in there? My mind goes blank. It won't let me scroll up. I can't see. Scott's in there. I'm sure I'm missing someone. Whoever I'm missing, I do apologise. I should write these down as everyone jumps in. That would be the sensible move. My end. Again, the show was brought to you. Our title sponsor is DynastySportsEmpire.com. Your home for all your Dynasty needs there. Hockey, baseball, MMA, and of course the NFL. So head over to DynastySportsEmpire.com. Tweet at me, Zone Coverage FS. As we're done with the show today, and I will catch you in a week, maybe 2. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, hustle, hit, and never quit.
Thank you for tuning in to today's show. Unable to listen live? We've got that covered. Simply search the Zone Coverage Football Show in either iTunes or Stitcher Radio. And don't forget to subscribe. All our shows and details on how to call into the show can be found on the website, www.zonecoveragefootballshow.com.